What's going on, everybody? I want to jump on to give you all some insight on some tips that may be helpful as you create your own container. So, jumping right in, this is just one way to do this. There is so many different ways, but I'm hoping this could be a helpful tutorial. So what I think makes the most sense is to start with the actual block that you all will have. So I am making, and you can do this a lot of different ways, but however, I am making a 3" by 3" by 2" block, right? Because this is what everybody's going to start to mill. Right, so what may be helpful, and I sometimes forget to do this because I get excited, but this is your stock, and if you name these, life will be much easier for you later. So, in general, what I think makes the most sense is to do the bottom of the container on top. We'll leave space for the vise, and then the lid on the bottom. So it gets a little confusing saying bottoms, but first thing you're going to need to figure out is what kind of shape you really want to do. I'm going to just use a standard polygon here, but you can use whatever shape that you would like. So before we do this, what I think makes the most sense is to draw a line here. And the reason we want to draw that line is because now I can actually see where center is. If I have a center, then my life will be much easier moving forward. So I am going to take this polygon here and draw it out. So maybe instead of a 6-sided shape, I don't know, let's go with an 8-sided shape. We'll make an octagon. I'm going to use some constraints here to make life easier so we can optimize the actual stock that we have. So the other piece that I want to do is I am actually going to outline using the project geometry tool the entire piece, because our next extrusion we need to get rid of those 4 pieces. And the reason we need to do that is because we're going to have the bottom of our container here. So something that you're going to have a little bit of wiggle room with is how deep and how much of your box or your container you want to use. I'm going to play it safe because I'd rather a container that works than pushing the limits of all of our machines. However, we go through, we have that overall feature. Now, some things that are going to make sense to start thinking about, right? We want to come out here, and what we want to do is we want to take whatever this is and offset all of these features. And the offset tool is going to be a very important tool because I no longer will have to type all of those out. Another measurement that you are absolutely going to want to know is 1/8 of an inch. The reason 1/8 of an inch is so important is because that is a safe thickness that our mill will be able to actually run. The next piece is actually going to probably seem confusing, but it actually won't once you see the extrusion we're going to do next. So you'll see that this is 0.25, so it's double, so 2 versions of this, right? So the reason that needs to occur is I have the bottom of my container here, and it's going to fit, the lid is going to fit on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and I am actually going to remove, let's do this 0.4. I'm going to remove that portion so that when I turn this piece back on and cut this out, let's do 0.7, we'll do 0.6. When I remove this for our actual container, now these can actually interact together. Some things you're going to have to think about are those specific dimensions. I'm trying to keep things as easy as I possibly can. But basically, this piece is going to close onto the lid, and they will interact. Another thing you're going to have to think about is the fact that we right now have an 8-sided figure that I can't get that curve on a mill. So production time is actually going to be a big deal for us. So if you come out here and grab the fillet tool and come to the insides here, this is going to decrease the amount of time that your mill will take to get your product actually done once we get into CAM. So I am going to come out here and let's just do, we can do 1/8 of an inch. It'll probably make more sense to go bigger. So I'm going to actually make it 0.25. That way, when we run a rough mill here, that half inch radius will be able to happen. All right, so we got our bottom, and now let's go to the top. So the lid. What I don't want you all to do is duplicate work. So I'm going to shut some of these planes off just so nobody is confused. But basically, we want this exact drawing or that sketch to be transposed on this. This is where project geometry is a very, very important tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and start a sketch. I'm going to grab this project geometry and I'm going to click exactly that that line. Oh, I missed one. That line and that line so that everything on here is projected. I wish it would all go, but I'll just click it. No big deal. It will all work. The other thing that I'm going to want to project is the actual squares on the outside because we're going to actually want to delete that out the same way we did the opposite side. So we're going to go ahead and remove these pieces first. And we'll make it even 0.75. Again, you'll have wiggle room there. You will absolutely be able to change those dimensions. And now what I want to do is I want this lip, right, the lip of the lid to fit into here, right? So if I come back to this sketch and I start looking at my offset here, because that's going to be an important one, I want that base, if you will, to be the exact same. A lot of students will get excited and they'll say, okay, well, I'm just going to remove this down, 0.5 so that I have that piece. And you'll realize that these will interact together, but there's no ending spot here, right? You want that lid to fit perfectly onto that portion, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. This is kind of just one of them. I'm going to show you some other examples now. But I do want you all to see, right, on here, you're going to delete that portion so you can fit each one in. We'll get to milling in a moment, but here are two other examples. Sorry here. I guess this one's relatively similar, but here is the lid and here is the bottom, right? I definitely use some different dimensions here. Let me see here. I got another circle one. So this one, I got a little fancy on the bottom of the design. The other feature here that you'll see is I actually used a fillet so that these, where these interact, stop together, right? So you can do these any way that you want to, but you have to be conscious of those dimensions. I'm hoping this video was a helpful tool for you to get going here. And if there's anything I can do to help, don't be afraid to reach out. Looking forward to seeing what you create.